The following is a presentation of 912 Sports. Welcome to On Air with 912 Sports, your number one source for high school sports. With Sean Smoke, Kevin Price, and Robbie Ross. On Air with 912 Sports is brought to you by Coastal Pines Technical College. Go Coastal. Prime South Bank. Find your prime. Robbie Robertson Ford, because Fords are cheaper in the swamp. Gibson Animal Clinic, practical solutions with limited fees. Summit Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Surgery, the region's best orthopedic care. And Kim Smoke, licensed realtor with eXp Realty.
High schoolers, did you know that you can get a head start on your college career and save money at the same time through dual enrollment at Coastal Pines Technical College? Dual enrollment is open to high school juniors and seniors, tuition free. Talk to your high school counselor or visit coastalpines.edu for more information. Coastal Pines Technical College, an equal opportunity institution. Go Coastal.
It makes sense Prime South Bank would have a great mobile app. Nobody is as mobile as our customers. For a century, they've chased dreams, followed their hearts, took the road less taken, made a new path, taken leaps of faith. At Prime South, offering the latest digital banking, secure pay apps, and new online lending is part of a mobile tradition that goes way back. Life is mobile. So is Prime South. Find your Prime. Member FDIC.
Play it loud and rev it up. Robbie Robertson's got trucks built for tough.
Make your way to Robbie Robertson Ford in Waycross, where the deals are bigger than ever. Looking for a stylish midsize car, a spacious SUV, or a truck that performs at work and play? Robbie Robertson wants your vehicle and is paying top dollar. Now is the time to buy. Fords are cheaper in the swamp.
Welcome, sports fans, and thanks for watching On Air with 912 Sports. I'm Sean Smoke, publisher of 912 Sports, joined as always by head writer and podcast host Kevin Price. Kevin, how you doing?
Good, Sean. Kind of been an interesting spring with the weather and, of course, a lot of good activity going on. Getting down to the postseason now, pretty much in everything. So we're there in soccer and baseball. That's what we're going to talk about here today. So a lot of good stuff happening with our spring sport teams around Southeast Georgia. So let's dive right in.
Yeah, and I think tennis is already getting into their playoffs as well. I know our region contests were this week, but first of all, Kevin, we're going to start off with girls soccer, and we're just kind of going to go through this laundry list of who played and who's still playing, and kind of go from there. But we'll start in Single A, Division I. Bacon County beat Swainsboro in round one by a final score of 5-0, but then turned around and lost in round two to Temple by a score of 2-0. So they're done for the season. Moving to Single A Division II, we've got MCA, who had a bye in the first round. They beat Montgomery County 4-1, and they'll play Dooley County on 4/24. That team's is headed up by Maddie McMahon and Maddie McMahon down there at MCA. We're going to have a cover story on her on an upcoming edition, and I think you got a chance to write that story.
I did. I talked to her dad, also Coach Bradley Warren. You know, she kicked extra points for the tackle football team, played flag football as well. Don't want to spoil that story too much, but 20 varsity letters. In that game the other day, though, Sean, I know I think they led 1-0 at the half, and then she ended up scoring. Her sister scored the first goal, by the way, and she ended up scoring, I think, 3 second-half goals. And actually, Sean, I think she had matched her school record in the regular season for, goals in the season at 41. And
Wow.
her first goal then in that second half broke her own single season record. And then, of course, she tacked on a few more. So she has over 100 goals in her, career. And like you said, she'll be featured in our May issue of our magazine. So be sure to check that out. Very interesting kid. And she doesn't just play those sports, Sean, as the story will show. She's pretty good at all the sports she plays. Doesn't just play enough to get that varsity letter. She actually is a big-time contributor and certainly is definitely the star of the soccer team.
Exactly. Well, keep your eye out for that coming up here in May. But moving on to AA, Appleton County beat Washington County by a final score of 6-2. But then they lost to Fitzgerald 5-0 in the second round. Pierce County beat Thompson 10-0. They actually played Wednesday. I looked for a score, couldn't find that score, but they play Ace Charter for that in their second round match. Then we had Toombs County who beat Putnam 4-0. Jeff Davis, who beat Central 4-0. Those two guys played on Wednesday. So we know we've got somebody from AA moving on, but I could not find a score on that one as well. So one of those two teams is going to be moving on. And then Long County lost in the first round to Morgan County by a final score of 5-0. Don't believe. Oh, we did have a couple of 4A schools. That's right. Wayne County went into the playoffs as a 3 seed. They wound up losing to Whitewater, and then New Hampstead went in as a 4, and they wound up losing to Stars Mill. So both of their seasons are over there in 4A. Getting into 5A, Kevin, we had 3 teams that made it. Unfortunately, all 3 teams lost. Ware went down to Dutchtown by a final of 3-1. Statesboro lost to Dutchtown 3-1. Ware actually lost to Ola 2-1, and Bradwell Institute lost to Union Grove by a final score of 9-0. So Region 5 started out great, getting those 3 teams in there, but they were one and done as far as the playoffs goes. But getting there in your backyard, Kevin, Glen Academy, they in round 1 beat Lee County by a final score of 3-0, but then lost in the second round to a very, very talented St. Pius team. I think that score was 7-0.
Yeah, well, first of all, going back to those 4 and 5A scores, all those teams, in that South Metro area, that Whitewater area, that Stars Mill area, that's soccer country up
Exactly.
there in the metro area, if you know about it. So when you run into those teams, you run into some girls that have been playing travel soccer and whatnot for a long time. So that's a tough road to hoe there. But yeah, Glen Academy, won their first round game pretty easy. 3-0 over Lee County. They were missing, several players, but Glen's pretty deep. They played a lot of players all year long, but tough second round matchup, just the way the brackets fall. We mentioned earlier a couple of shows ago that 6A with the reclassification this year had become one of the toughest divisions. Some of these private schools that kind of got hurt by the multiplier, if you want to call it getting hurt, moved up a couple of classes. Marist and St. Pius among those. I think Blessed Trinity as well. All 3 of those teams are soccer powers. I think if you look at the GHSA record book, those teams rank among the best all time in state championships, in girls soccer, and are all, I think, in the top 5 or 6 in any of the rankings you look at. So Glenn ran into a buzzsaw in the second round and lost a lopsided score, even though they were at home, and just not a whole lot you can do about it. And to beat Glen Academy 7-0, you're a pretty good team. So St. Pius going to hang around for a long while.
Yeah, because Glenn goes into that contest as a number 1 seed from their region. And like I said, St. Pius wasn't a number 1 because they had to travel. So, they've been playing quality soccer all year long. But that leads us to 7A, Kevin. 7A, we had number 1 Richmond Hill. They beat Westlake by a final score of 7-0, and then turn around and beat Brookwood. I think it was 1-0, and now they're going to be at home to face Denmark on 4/24. So congratulations there to Richmond Hill, still playing good soccer over there. And then Camden loses in round 1 to East Coweta. matter of fact, they get run ruled 10-0 there in the first round. So what that does, Kevin, it leaves us with MCA still playing. We know we're going to have Toombs or Jeff Davis. We're just not sure which one because we couldn't find a score. And then Richmond Hill. All three of those teams are still alive there in girls soccer as we move on into the third round. And I guess those teams will actually be in the Elite Eight. So because you got 32, 16, 8, 4, and then the championship. So congratulations to all those teams. Congratulations to the teams that made it. Hey, listen, if you made the playoffs in your chosen sport, that's pretty good. Like I said, not everybody. There's only going to go. Only one team's going to go home happy at the end of the year, and that's the person holding up the cup. Everybody else is going to end the season with a loss. So, but anyway, so good for MCA, good for Richmond Hill, good for Toombs or Jeff Davis for making it to the Elite Eight. But hey, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come right back here and talk about the boys' side of the bracket there for soccer. But you're watching On Air with 912 Sports.
At Summit Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Surgery, you don't have to be an athlete to get the region's best orthopedic care. Our board-certified orthopedic surgeons and physicians treat injuries and conditions that affect just about any joint or bone in your body. Plus, we're backed by the support of Southeast Georgia Health System. From fracture repair to joint replacement, Summit Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Surgery will get you moving again. Call 1-855-ASK-SGHS. That's 1-855-275-7447 or visit sghs.org/summit.
Gibson Animal Clinic is ready to help with your animals. From cats to dogs to horses, we treat them all. Call on us for grooming, bathing, boarding, and more serious things like surgery, dentistry, spay, neuter, immunizations, heartworm prevention, flea control, complete lab testing, radiology, preventive health care. Call us at 285-7678. Open Saturdays for your convenience. Gibson Animal Clinic. Practical solutions with reasonable fees. Russell J. Gibson, DVM.
Gibson Animal Clinic, 108 Riverside Drive, Waycross.
Hablamos español en nuestra clínica.
Welcome back, sports fans. I'm Sean Smoke. He's Kevin Price, and we're going to jump right into boys soccer now. These teams are played in the first round, moved on to the second round, and some of these guys have already made it to the Elite Eight. But we're going to start the same way we did the girls. We'll start at Single A Division One. Number one seed Bacon County beat Dublin in the first round 10-0. That's a run rule situation. Then they turn around and beat Metter 4-0. And so now they're going to host in the Elite Eight Atlanta International on 4/25 there at Bacon County. So they're going to be home for the first three rounds. So congratulations there to the Red Raiders over in Alma, doing a great job on the field. I know the girls have lost, but the boys are going to keep playing, and that's a pretty strong pretty strong showing there for the Red Raiders, Kevin.
Yeah, we thought they had a good chance, particularly being at home, and they've proven that they are legit. And I've never heard of that school, Sean. Actually, that they're playing. I don't know if that's some kind of prep school or what. They may breed soccer players. For all I know, but could be a tough matchup, but good to see Bacon marching on right there.
Yeah, and David Hernandez, a guy that's going to be featured in our upcoming magazine. I'm pretty sure he's leading 2A in scoring right now. So they've got a midfielder that can play. So I think he's they've got several guys that can play, but I think he's one of the team captains down there, and he's putting the ball in the back of the net, and that's the name of the game when you play soccer. But we'll move on to Single A Division 2. Number 2, MCA. They had a bye the first round, but then turned around in the second round and lost to Aquinas by a final score of 9-0. So the Buccaneers season is over there. Let's move on to 2A, Kevin. Pierce County beat West Side of Augusta 7-0. They actually play Fitzgerald today in the second round. So that game's Thursday. So they're playing that game today. Also in AA, Jeff Davis, who lost to Rutland 3-2, Toombs lost to Putnam 2-1, and Long County and in 3A, Long County lost to Harlem 1-0. So Pierce County really the only team there that was able to move on and play in that second round. So we'll see what they can get done today.
And I guess they play on that new surface over there in Pierce. So, obviously good to see them taking advantage of that new facility, and we'll see if they can march on. So hopefully they'll represent our small schools here in Southeast Georgia well in that round of 32 or round of 16 and get a chance to move on to the Elite Eight.
Exactly. No teams in 4A. We had a bunch of teams in 5A. We had Ware County, but they actually lost in the first round to Union Grove by a final score of 3-0. So that's going to wrap up the Gators season. Number 2, Bradwell, who actually went into the playoffs number 2 behind Greenbrier, who's number 1. They wound up beating Locust Grove. Then turned around in round 2, Kevin, and beat Tucker. So now the Bradwell Institute Tigers are moving on to the Elite Eight, and they're going to play Centennial, and that game is going to be Tuesday, 4/25. So congratulations to Bradwell. And then Statesboro beat Dutchtown in the first round, but lost to McIntosh in round number 2 by a final score of 4-0. So the Blue Devils made it to the second round, made it to the Sweet 16, but their season is over.
Well, there again, you're running into that same area where we talked about that the girls ran into, but
yep.
That's a favorable matchup there it sounded like for the Bradwell Institute Tigers in round 2. They went to Tucker, which is DeKalb County, instead of that, other area there, and won. And so here's a chance where Bradwell moves down in classification and maybe takes advantage of a more favorable matchup. And here they are moving on a little further down the road than they have maybe in quite some time.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see what they can do when it's all said and done there. But congratulations to the Bradwell Tigers making it all the way to the Elite Eight. Going up to 6A, we've got the number 2 seeded South Effingham in round number 1. They beat TCC by a final score of 2-1, and they're actually going to play Lakeside DeKalb today, Kevin. And then Glenn goes in ranked number 1 in the state on max preps in 5A. They beat Lee County by a final score of 3-0, and they're going to play Dunwoody today. So both South Effingham and Glenn, Kevin, they got some pretty good matchups there. I mean, I know these are powerhouse soccer schools and all, but I think both of these guys got a chance to come away with a win.
Yeah, record-wise, both should, and of course, being at home would help. Glenn, the only team to beat them is, South Effingham this year. Glenn beat the Mustangs 3-0 in the first matchup, I think, between the two teams in region play, and then South Effingham beat Glenn 2-1. Glenn did end up as the region champion. So two, fairly low-scoring games there between the teams. I know more about Glenn, of course, than South Effingham, but Glenn has some firepower, like always up front. Harrison Lee going to be the region player of the year, certainly a candidate for our boys player of the year in the larger schools. And then, they're always good on defense, Sean. If you look at their scores, they hold opponents down. And like I say, they held a good South Effingham team, to low scoring totals in the 2 games they played. And they won their first round game against Lee County in shutout fashion, like I said, 3-0. I know I didn't get to see that game. It was last Friday, actually during the spring break. I think the game got pushed back Thursday because of rain, played on Friday. I know they had a lot of chances in the first half, didn't generate scores, kind of played that game on Lee County's half of the field. Most of the first half just didn't put the ball in the back of the net, but came right out of the locker room in the second half, put a goal in early, then went up 3-0, and were able again to rely on that defense. So they can get up on you and kick that ball around. They're real strong defensively. So I would expect that we'll see Glenn moving on to the Elite Eight. I think it's a favorable matchup for South Effingham as well. So I think these two teams could represent Southeast Georgia and the 912 area code again next week in the Elite Eight.
Exactly. We'll see what happens after the contest this afternoon. That brings us to 7A. The number 2 seeded Richmond Hill Wildcats. They beat Carrollton 3-2 in a very close game there in round 1, and then turn around and beat Brookwood by the same score, Kevin, 3-2 in round 2. So that moves them on to the Elite Eight. They're going to play Lambert. That game is actually, I think, Monday, 4/24. So we'll see how they do. But Richmond Hill already secured that Elite Eight game, and then Camden in the first round lost to Campbell by a final score of 6-0. So we know we've got Bradwell moving on in 5A. We know we've got Richmond Hill moving on in 7A. And we feel, Kevin, that probably Glenn and South Effingham have a good shot there in 6A to move on. And then, I'm sorry, and I forgot about Bacon, because Bacon's already moved on to the Elite Eight as well. So they'll be playing their game on Tuesday the 25th. So boys soccer strong down here in the 912. We'll see how they finish up. Who knows, Kevin? We maybe have a state champion in soccer out of our 912 area. Hasn't happened very often, but at least we got some people still alive here in the Elite Eight. So we'll see how it all shakes out. But Kevin, you mentioned at the top of the show, we've got baseball coming up. So we're going to take a quick break and come right back here and talk a little bit about the baseball playoffs that we know are already set into place. But y'all stick around. We'll be right back here with more On Air with 912 Sports.
High schoolers, did you know that you can get a head start on your college career and save money at the same time through dual enrollment at Coastal Pines Technical College? Dual enrollment is open to high school juniors and seniors, tuition free. Talk to your high school counselor or visit coastalpines.edu for more information. Coastal Pines Technical College, an equal opportunity institution. Go Coastal!
At Summit Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Surgery, you don't have to be an athlete to get the region's best orthopedic care. Our board-certified orthopedic surgeons and physicians treat injuries and conditions that affect just about any joint or bone in your body. Plus, we're backed by the support of Southeast Georgia Health System. From fracture repair to joint replacement, Summit Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Surgery will get you moving again. Call 1-855-ASK-SGHS. That's 1-855-275-7447 or visit sghs.org/summit.
It makes sense Prime South Bank would have a great mobile app. Nobody is as mobile as our customers. For a century, they've chased dreams, followed their hearts, took the road less taken, made a new path, taken leaps of faith. At Prime South, offering the latest digital banking, secure pay apps, and new online lending is part of a mobile tradition that goes way back. Life is mobile. So is Prime South. Find your Prime. Member FDIC.
Welcome back, sports fans. I'm Sean Smoke. He's Kevin Price, and we just gave you the playoff picture for soccer. Now we're going to go in and give you a little bit of information about baseball playoffs because the 6 and 7A brackets have already been set. Anything below 6 and 7A has not. They're actually playing out the week. I know Statesboro's got games this week. Ware County's got games this week. So we're still trying to figure out where we're going to play, who we're going to play against, what seed we're going to go into the playoffs as. But 6 and 7A has already been set because GHSA took a week off of their regular season because they're getting ready to play their state championship game in Truist Park. So they had to make that date to be able to play those games in Truist Park. So they had to cut it short a little bit. But, Kevin, I know you're on top of it there for 6 and 7A. So go ahead and give us some brackets on what our teams here in the 912 are going to be playing in as they go into the playoffs here for 6 and 7A.
Well, first of all, Sean, I want to get on my soapbox just a little bit, if you don't mind. First of all, if you go back to the beginning of the season, the schedules for the teams were already set.
Yes, set in place.
I can only speak for 6A, and I can only speak for our region, really, which is Region 2 6A. When the state made that change, basically what they did was bump the playoff schedule up from, I guess, sometime next week. I really don't know when it was. I don't know if it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, to Saturday, which it is, and Monday. And basically they were, getting the playoff series finished where they could get into Truist Park for Class 6A and 7A. Of course, that's the home of the Atlanta Braves. And no complaints from the coaches there to really, get the championship games at Truist Park. That's been a hit, ever since it's happened. So cramming more games into there is pretty much, kind of a no-brainer if you can. But I know in Region 2 6A, when the state said you could start earlier, that caused all sorts of chaos. Because just take Brunswick and Glenn, for instance, the two teams we cover on Golden Isles baseball, they were scheduled to play this week, a Monday, Wednesday, Friday series, as were the series, the season finales in the other series in the region. So basically, though, the region ADs and the region secretary, I guess, left it up to the coaches to finagle with their schedules and, bump their last series up however they could. And, of course, the coaches were most interested in trying to get done as early as possible to get their pitching set should they make the playoffs. Understandably so. But what happened was it got all out of whack very quickly, because the best thing to do was what really Glenn and Brunswick did. They were able to move their series up to a whole 3-game series at the start of the region schedule. They had to move some non-region games out of that week, and they played a Monday, Wednesday, Friday deal right there all in one set, just like they would have at the end.
Right.
Well, not everybody did that. Some teams moved, 1 game up and still had 2 games left. Some teams moved 2 games up, still had 1 game left. Right out of the gate, the playing field was uneven. You say, how? I know you understand. But basically, somebody could have pitched their ace in a game 1 early in the season in February, come back and pitch their ace again this week. Where if you play Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're not able to do that because of pitching rules and everything. Well, also, I'll wrap this up in a minute, Sean. When they did that, some coaches were able to also bend the rules and various things they weren't sticking with when games got rained out, playing on the next available date and stuff like that. So they got in a situation this week when they had rain out, suspended games, and all sorts of stuff. Cramming in games this last week was very difficult because of the chaos to begin with. So this region, and not to mention, it's just the setup with Augusta schools is a little bit of a nightmare anyway, because when you have a 3.5, 4-hour trip for the Southeast Georgia schools to go play them, when there's a rain situation, understandably so, you have to make a quick call. And last Thursday, for instance, when Brunswick was playing Lakeside Evans, they had to call that off by mid-morning in time for Lakeside to get here. Well, guess what? When they called it off, it was a beautiful afternoon. If Brunswick is playing South Effingham or Effingham, they could say, let's hold off to 2 or 3 o'clock. We're not playing till 6. They could have played one of those schools very easily.
Right.
And so then guess what happens? Brunswick didn't play last Thursday. They didn't play Friday because Lakeside Evans had prom. Again, call it what you want, whether or not you made them play on their prom day or whatnot. They come to play Saturday. Guess what happens? A big fire breaks out at a plant in game 2 here in Brunswick. Couldn't finish it. So as things shook out, they had to finish that game last night because it mattered. So this region has a lot of things to clean up, to fix between this year and next year to alleviate some of these problems. But first of all, the state started the chaos. And then it went from there. But anyway, it was a wild and woolly finish, Sean, in Region 2 6A. The week before this past week, South Effingham could have won the region. They ended up going into a tailspin. Could have finished 3rd or 4th at the end. They ended up finishing 3rd. Brunswick had a chance up until yesterday to possibly finish 3rd if they won out in their 2 suspended games. They won the first one against Lakeside Evans in 5 innings. Ended up losing a wild one, a back-and-forth game to Effingham 10-9. So now they are going to be 4th. They lose a tiebreaker to South Effingham. Glen Academy, when they lost to Evans last Friday night in a controversy-filled doubleheader up there at Evans, knew that they were either going to be 2nd or 3rd. South Effingham turns around, gives them a favor on Monday, loses to Grovetown, so they're definitely going to be 2nd. So they're going to be 2nd and be at home. And then Evans, of course, is 1st. So been a wild finish. But anyway, in Region 2 6A, it's going to be Evans taking on the 4 seed out of Region 1, which is Thomas County Central. Glen Academy, the number 2 seed, is going to be taking on the 3 seed, Lee County. Brunswick or South Effingham, the number 3 seed now, will be taking on the 2 seed. Out of that Region 1, which is Tift County. And then Brunswick, the number 4 seed, now, unfortunately, the toughest matchup of all, will have to take on Houston County, which is one of the best teams in the state, bar none, nationally ranked as well, undefeated in that region at 15-0. They're the 1 seed. Now, Glen Academy, that's the only series I know as far as times, will be taking on Lee County at Adam Wainwright Field on Saturday at 2 o'clock and 4:30. The if game, of course, would be Monday. All the other games, of course, are going to be best of 2 out of 3. 2 games Saturday, 1 game Monday. Of course, we'll have Brunswick on Golden Isles baseball as well from Houston County, and we'll announce those game times as soon as we get them.
Exactly. And then in 7A, Kevin, the only team that we have playing is Richmond Hill, and Richmond Hill is scheduled to play Saturday against can't remember who they were going to play.
Campbell,
that's it, Campbell. And they will be at home because they're going to go in as a 2 seed. So those games are going to be at Richmond Hill. So I think their first game is scheduled for 3:00 on Saturday. So, but those are really the only two regions that we know here in the 912. Like I said, you'll have to check your brackets this weekend to find out. I know where with 5A starts the playoffs on Monday. Well, I think everybody basically has to start the playoffs on Monday, Tuesday, and then once that round's finished, I'm not sure if the second round is going to be Friday, Saturday. I would imagine that's probably what it's going to be.
I know in 6A that's the case. Yeah, it'll be Friday and Saturday the next week. And the only thing I know there is Glen Academy. I'm not sure about Brunswick because I didn't know if they were going to be 3 or 4, so I really didn't pay attention. But I know most likely if Glen were to win, I was just looking at the higher seed, they would play Woodward Academy. I can't remember who they would play if the other seed won. But again, Sean, 6A is going to be tough. It always is. 7A, of course, tough as well. These games in Truist Park, again, I think are no-brainers. Trying to squeeze as many of them in. It just caused a little bit of a schedule shakeup. Hopefully that won't be the case again next year. But the good thing about baseball, Sean, we know we're getting some good soccer representation, and that's good to see. But we don't know exactly how all the brackets are going to shake out, like you said. So we're kind of putting the cart before the horse a little bit. But I don't really care about that because I'm confident in our teams down here in Southeast Georgia. Ever since I've been with you guys, which is 3 or 4 years now, we've always had good representation in baseball here in Southeast Georgia from the Elite Eight on. Might get us a state championship or more. Don't want to put the onus on anybody. We've already talked about a couple of the better teams that could go deep, but
we know Charlton's going to be tough in single A.
You're going to do it, so go ahead.
we know Jeff Davis is going to be tough in Double A. We know Long County is going to be tough in 3A. You got a slew of guys in 2A with Vidalia, Jeff Davis, Pierce County, Appleton County. All those guys are going to be tough. Warren, Statesboro, and Coffee are going to be tough there in 5A as well. So, and then of course, the guys that you have already covered. So, listen, we've got guys that are going to be playing deep into the playoffs for sure. We just don't know where that's going to set up until this week finishes up with all their games. So, like I said, check the brackets on Friday night, Saturday morning. Get ready for some baseball on Saturday. You guys are going to have both Brunswick and Glen on Golden Isles baseball, and then Monday I'll have Ware County, which will be on the road somewhere up in the McDonough area. We're going to either be playing Locust Grove or Ola or Union Grove. One of those three teams is who Ware's going to match up with, all right there in that McDonough area, and we'll have all that on 912 Sports as well. So, like I said, check us out. But that's going to wrap it up for the show tonight. We'll be back here next week with our on air or with our All Sports Award Show. So don't forget about it. Go ahead and mark your calendars now. That's the 27th. We'll be giving out 36 awards there for everything except for football. So make your plans now. Tell your mama and them. Make sure they tune in as well. So, but appreciate everybody watching. We'll be right back here after these messages.
Play it loud and rev it up. Robbie Robertson's got trucks built for tough.
Make your way to Robbie Robertson Ford in Waycross, where the deals are bigger than ever. Looking for a stylish midsize car, a spacious SUV, or a truck that performs at work and play? Robbie Robertson wants your vehicle and is paying top dollar. Now is the time to buy. Fords are cheaper in the swamp.
Gibson Animal Clinic is ready to help with your animals. From cats to dogs to horses, we treat them all. Calling us for grooming, bathing, boarding, and more serious things like surgery, dentistry, spay, neuter, immunizations, heartworm prevention, flea control, complete lab testing, radiology, preventive health care. Call us at 285-7678. Open Saturdays for your convenience. Gibson Animal Clinic. Practical solutions with reasonable fees. Russell J. Gibson, DVM.
Gibson Animal Clinic, 108 Riverside Drive, Waycross.
Hablamos español en nuestra clínica.
This has been a presentation of 912 Sports.